Hello, everybody, it's me, and today we're going to be talking about the dark reality of my comic book series, BusTails. And we're not just going to be talking about BusTails, we're going to be talking about the whole high school timeline. So that includes all three of the BusTails comics, both of the 6 a.m. comics, and that one Sunshade Dates comics I made. So all of these books have some reality to them. You might think, oh, they're just, make believe fantasy things, that were fun to make. No, they weren't fun to make. I mean, they were kind of fun to make, but the dark reality of the BusTales comic series was me venting my anger at the world. At this time, high school was terrible. I had just been betrayed by the people who I thought were friends. My foster mother, who I loved dearly, had died, and my relationship with my brother was not very good. And I was just not having a good time. I was so angry. All the kids made fun of me for it. So I created this demon. I guess you could say he is real to some degree. So this demon, who I called Rampage, and for a specific reason. Demons usually have names along Rampage, Mayhem, Destruction, Famine, names like that. So I picked the name of Rampage, to wreak destruction, to cause chaos, to cause carnage. When an animal has a rampage, it usually kills a bunch of people in its wake. So I had to name it something like that. So Rampage was his name, and whenever I was angry, I would write comic books to vent out my anger towards whoever my victim was. And whoever the victim was, Rampage would appear in this comic book to punish them. Now, usually that wasn't really crazy thing to happen. Usually Rampage would come out to be all intimidating and to scare other characters. Even in the real world, I would be dark. I was dark because of how pissed off I was at the world. I felt that people needed to suffer in the most cruel way possible. So this character was created, and essentially, I have to admit that I became that character. And to this day, I still can't shake it. But so Rampage was created, and I made for the other characters. So in the real world, Havana, in the real world, Haley, in the real world, Chase, and in the real world, I think that's it. So Havana, Chase, and Haley all had their own demons. I didn't give Elizabeth her own demon because I wanted her to be as human as possible. I mean, she is a human, so I didn't want her to be a demon of sort. I just wanted her to be that person, that odd person in the crowd who was just, hey, how's it going? But I didn't want her to be like that. I didn't want her to write her that way, out of respect for her as well. But everybody else, my girlfriend, my best friend, and my two rivals at the time, all had their own demons. So my demon was, of course, Rampage, like I already told you, a big 7 foot tall creature with razor sharp teeth and claws, menacing red eyes, snow white hair, and a big bony body with like big slendery long arms, something out of a nightmare. He had oozing black blood coming out of his mouth and eyes looking very scary. Rampage went through two evolutionary, actually, I guess you could say three evolutionary states. The first evolutionary state where he didn't have any clothes on, he was just the demon itself. And then he went through a second evolutionary state where he started wearing clothes, which I think was around the end of BusTales 2, Return to DW Poppy, I think was when he started to wear clothes. And then in BusTales 3, where he was, I kind of guess he went emo or something, or he kind of became more of an anti-hero. Not a full hero yet, but an anti-hero. So he would kill or do things that were bad for the greater good. I mean, he still was bad. He still did terrible things, but he did them under the impression of doing the good, of the doing good. So yeah, that was the evolution of the creature. Now the other creatures that were created for Haley, Havana, and Chase and Sarah. So Sarah was of course a vampire, and Chase was kind of a vampire type demon. His was more like a shade. And if you don't know what a shade is basically a shadow like demon with powers and abilities that I can't remember, but they're very powerful. So he was a shade with that was basically just a black figure wearing his cloak and everything, and it had like these two curling horns and red eyes and vampire like teeth. So pretty crazy. And he also carried a sword in some parts of the series. And next up we have Haley. So Haley was a witch. Obviously, she liked to call herself a witch. So I thought, what better way to turn her into a witch? So her whole appearance during the comic book, I guess you could say, was just a witch human. So just a human where she could use powers and everything. There was a whole nightmare sequence, I think, in BusTails, when night, no, not BusTails, 6 a.m. when nightmares rule, where I had the nightmare that I was turning into Rampage and killing everybody on the bus. And in that dream sequence that I drew into a comic book form, Rampage was just losing his shit. He went on the bus and killed everybody, and Haley stood her ground and faced off against me as Rampage, using her magic to burn the flesh from my skin. Of course, it just pissed me off and made me angrier, and of course, I ended up killing her, which I don't think would have happened in real life. But hey, there's got to be some fictional elements to the book series to make it enjoyable, right? So yeah, so these two characters faced off, and of course, obviously, it was a really cool fight, and I enjoyed drawing it. And now the second coolest character was basically the villain for Rampage to fight. She wasn't really a villain. I just didn't like her, so I kind of turned her into a villain. I mean, I guess Rampage was the villain. None of the other characters, like Havana, Haley, and like they didn't really do anything wrong. I was just too consumed with my anger. So yeah, I guess technically I was the villain of the comic book series. But yeah, so we have Haley, and her monster was Astenti, a huge angel with huge wings, like way bigger than her body, and she had a crown and everything, looking pretty cool. She was basically a vampire slash angel creature, which I thought was pretty cool. So she was a queen. So yeah, pretty cool. So basically, in the book series, I would always have Havana and Rampage duking it out. I mean, it's not like we didn't do that in real life, but that was pretty cool. So the book series basically played off of all of our emotions. I tried to make it seem as real as possible. And after a while, I don't know if this is actually true, if I just fooled myself, but I think I really got how Havana and Haley talked because I've spent so much time, around them that I really figured out how they talked and how they saw things. So it was really easy to write their characters, even if I was just making something up for them to do. It was really easy to figure out how they would react to a situation because of how long I've been hanging out with them. But the book series was pretty cool. Just take into consideration, some of it is real, some of it is fake, obviously. But yeah, so you got that. You got to put that beside that. Some parts of it are real, some parts of it are fake. But all around, I thought it was a great story to tell. And moral of the story: don't piss people off. Try to become friends. But yeah, the story was awesome. All of the books were connected with each other of that time period. So yeah, I was working on making a follow-up book series, but I never finished it. I do have a couple of pages laying around of that possible book series that never happened. But yeah, there we go. So I hope you guys enjoy the dark reality of the BusTails series. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.